Hey everyone! As some of you may know, as well as composing and producing music, I am also an avid Dungeons & Dragons player and dungeon master. Over the past few months, I've been having a lot of fun using MCDM's Flea Mortals in my games. This book is full of awesome stat blocks and strategies for dungeon masters. It is so much fun to read through, but it's even more fun at the table to run these monsters and see the kinds of things that can happen on the table and that your players will come up with when running creative things like the creatures that are in this book. Flea Mortals serves pretty much like a replacement for the monster manual. It has new takes on classic monsters like beholders, goblins, undead like mummies, and even original monsters like the Time Raiders or the Olithek. So this book is super useful and super fun, and I've been loving using it in my games. But MCDM also released this book, Where Evil Lives. Where Evil Lives takes a bunch of the monsters and stat blocks from Flea Mortals and puts them into original dungeons. They're all themed around different creatures like a devil dungeon, or a giant dungeon, or an orc dungeon, but I recently had the chance to run one of these adventures for a bunch of players. I got to run the Shifting Library, which is an adventure for 7th level characters with a bunch of undead in an extra planar library. It was lots of fun to prep and to play. I made some creative changes to match the dungeon with my own original homebrew world. But I also got to do something that I find quite fun when I get the chance, which is I wrote an original piece of music to go along with the dungeon. As a composer, that's a fun thing that I like to do sometimes for my D&D games when I get a chance. And the Shifting Library is a super thematic location. It was super interesting. And as I was preparing it, I picked up my bass and I just started playing something and decided to write a piece of music. I ended up using this piece of music in a little audio prologue that I sent to my players before the game, and I also used it as a soundtrack for when we were actually playing. So let's take a listen to my original soundtrack for the Shifting Library. So there you go, that was my composition, the shifting library. If you want to use it in your own Dungeons and Dragons games, whether you're running this adventure, this dungeon, or maybe your own haunted location, then there is a link in the description to an unlisted video with just the audio of the track. And if you're patient, at some point soon, it's probably going to end up on Spotify and other streaming platforms like that as well. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. I do creative music things like this all the time, and I have a bunch of videos lined up to share with you that I'm really excited to get into. If you like dark ambient music like this piece, The Shifting Library, then I have a very exciting project that I'm going to be announcing very soon that's coming out in the next couple of months. So stay tuned for that. And if you like to use music in your Dungeons and Dragons or other tabletop RPGs, then check out some of my music. A lot of it is soundtrack style stuff, and I use a lot of my own music in my own D&D games, so you might find that it's useful for you in yours. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I got to run the shifting library.